Looks like we're not getting out of the dungeon anytime soon. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 16 of Delicious in Dungeon. So, the series is kind of mocking me now. Um, Kind of playing off the fact that it's doing the same thing again, at least based on the last episode, but purposefully in a manner to where that's the joke. Because the last episode obviously, like, piggybacked off of some things from the first couple episodes. And although it was different enough to make it legally distinct, it was very much one of those cases where it was very clear what they were doing. The author, I assume, knew with the idea that, oh, Fallon had been, taken, they have to save her again, and with the idea that the main party was going to leave the dungeon and go back through after resupplying. The creator clearly knew that people were going to think that this was going to be repetitive, that it was going to just repeat the formula over again and was going to be the same thing. So outside of the new parties introduced and the fact that our main party wasn't able to escape the dungeon, they clearly were like, let's make some notable callbacks, not even just callbacks, direct references to the early episodes while adding in some new stuff in order to kind of poke fun at that idea a little bit, to showcase that we're not going to actually be taking a step backwards and repeating the same stuff over and over again, but that we're self-aware enough to kind of play around with that joke. And I think that's genuinely really funny. I think that's a funny idea, it's a funny concept, and honestly, I appreciate the cojones to be able to pull something like that off. Because it feels a little risky when you're not exactly mocking your audience. Like, I'm using the term and everything just for shits and giggles, but it's not exactly what they're doing. It's more like just, harmless poking fun at. It's kind of saying, like, we get what you're going to be thinking here. That's not what's going on, but let's have a little fun with the idea if it were. and I think that's fine. I like how it was handled, and I think that it's a fun little gag to pull. So now the question is, having done that, where do we go from here? What do we do next? Because we can't just keep pulling that same gag over and over. It doesn't work that way. You can only pull that gag once. Otherwise, you are starting to get repetitive. So, what do you do instead? My hope for what's going to happen next is either we're going to continue to showcase these new parties, or we're just going to experience some like really new kinds of situations and monsters and stuff as we continue along. It's going to more continue the formula rather than kind of restarting it. That's my thoughts, and I don't know how accurate that's going to be. It's just where I would think it would go and where I would hope it would go. Because I don't necessarily expect it to get, like, super intense, like, too soon. But Excuse me. But I guess we'll see. Um, Other than that, there's not really much of anything for me to say to prep for this episode. As usual, I don't know what to expect outside of the one thing I had mentioned before that I do know about due to the internet just being the internet. Um, but yeah, we'll get to that whenever that ends up coming up. But in general, I don't know like the context behind it at all, so still, it's like I couldn't talk much about it anyway. Either way, let us get this going and see what this episode has in store for us. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but I upload them on the weekend. And don't forget all the gaming content we have both on this channel and the Secondary Princess of Gaming channel. We have Horizon Forbidden West every other day and Baldur's Gate 3 every single day on this channel, while we also have Nier Automata every Saturday on the other. And don't forget to click the link down in the description below to get to today's reaction. I redirected just due to copyright reasons. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get on to the reaction. And we are back and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I'm not sure exactly what she was like saying at the end there. It's like Martilgo or Mardilgo or something like that. She was saying like I must find my way back to you or something, and it's like maybe that's the name of the Mad Mage. Otherwise, I have no clue. But she is like very close to where everyone is, because our parties have met up. All 3 parties have met up. Shuro's party and Kabru's party were already traveling together, and now they've connected with our main group. And we get to see them interact, get to see them connect, get to see Shuro kind of like learn everything that had happened since he left the group. Things are really starting to kind of set into motion with like a lot of these other characters we've barely gotten to know at this point. But we get to see, like, everything that they think of what's going on and how, again, they interact with each other through this, and even how they react to the news of what happened with Fallon. And all of this is interesting as hell. And some of these interactions are not what I would have expected. Like Kabru, he seemed like he was distrusting and didn't like the Toden siblings at first. But now he seems like, oh, maybe I misjudged them. I'm going to like watch and see what happens. He's very observant. He's very not really cautious. That's not the right word. But he makes sure he gets this information before he kind of makes any more judgment calls. He wants to know what's going on. He wants to find out like how things have been going for this different party and all the excuse me, and all the interesting things they've been up to. He seems more curious than anything. Meanwhile, you have Shuro's party, who we get to see a bit more of here. There's this one woman who has taken care of him since he was a child. She's kind of been like a caregiver type figure, has made him food and everything, and she very clearly cares about him in kind of like almost a motherly fashion, it seems. Which is funny because he looks notably older than her, yet she's like notably older than him. She just, looks good for her age. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting to see some of these dynamics and all, and it seems like Shiro's entire party is members of his clan, members of his family, as he said. We don't know like the exact relation he has to all of them. The only one that's really gone into in any depth is this one woman. I don't know their names, by the way. But she's the only one who's gone into really any depth with that, and she kind of is like from what we can see, the senshi of their group as well because of her interest in cooking and preparing food. She even works with senshi to do so, as we see. And it's really interesting to see how different they are, while at the same time how similar they are in terms of food prep and their interest in what food can do and how important it is to people's survival. We don't get to know too much about the others at the moment. There's just so many characters in this, we can't like focus on all of them. But we get to see like the one ninja is like not trusted with doing the excuse me, with doing the cooking stuff because they would put like weird ingredients in or something, and it's like all right. But yeah, I like seeing Shuro as well just talk to Laios and learn about everything that happened. He's clearly overwhelmed by stuff, but he's also extremely tired and hungry. So that might be affecting his view on things too. Though I do understand his view and everyone else's view regarding the dark magic. Because it's like that is questionable. There's a reason why it's like this forbidden type of magic, and it's understandable they'd be really put off or like freaked out by that. But they also don't like have every single bit of info. They weren't there. And let's be honest, Shuro was having Laios just give him the bullet points version anyway. So it's like, if they had been there, if they had seen and experienced what everyone else had, they might not be as opposed to it. But also, like, again, it's still dark magic and it's still, like, very concerning in the first place. I mean, it was when Marcel first did it back then. It wasn't like this like great just joyful thing. No, it was made clear it was a last resort. So, yeah. What else were they going to do at that point? But the perspectives on it are also fair. We also get to see these dungeon cleaners in this, which are these little, like, kind of insectoid like creatures that repair the dungeon. They repair buildings and the floors and stuff and take care of any debris and all. It's really interesting, and apparently they're edible. So that's a thing. Uh, but obviously, that ending with Fallon, we saw what we saw there. Um, so to just, I think I can now say, I can now talk about it a bit. Um, I don't know all the context or details or anything, but I've seen that before. I've seen cosplays. I've seen uh fan art and stuff. Again, with how the fandom is, with how like fandoms in general are, the internet, it's pretty impossible to have not seen something that big. Everyone was talking about it. It was everywhere. Screenshots and stuff. And again, I didn't get any context about it. I didn't know like anything behind it, and I still don't truly know a lot. I have theories, I have ideas, and I think it's, you know, pretty pretty simple to understand. At least it should be, if I'm correct. But it's like, yeah, the state, the form we saw Fallon in there at the end, I did know about that. Because again, it was impossible not to. Unless I were watching this week by week, it's like there's no way to have avoided that. It was too prominent online. Um, it's really interesting. I'll say that, and I'm gonna wait until we see more of it in full, which might be next episode to really talk about it. But it from what I have seen of it, I do like the design. It's really good. I'm just curious as to how things are going to be implemented in this, especially through interactions with our main characters and all. I'm just not sure how this is going to end up at this point. But yeah, I'm wondering about this Matingo or Madingo, whatever the fuck she said at the end. Like, is that the Mad Mage's name? Or is that something else? I don't know. Obviously, do not tell me in the comments. I don't want spoilers. But also, before we close this out, I do want to real quickly bring up the cut in the reaction. Yeah. I kind of explained it in the reaction, but basically what happened was I was watching it. There was like a couple moments where it was lagging and freezing. And then all of a sudden, a pop up came up on the screen that said encoding error. And the recording stopped. I didn't even notice it like exactly right away. But once I did, it's like, oh shit, wait, what? And yeah, so I had to go back a little bit. And what I ended up having to do before that is I had to close down OBS because I tried starting it up again and it just gave me the encoding error again. So I had to fully close OBS, bring it back up, and then I could record again. I mean, really weird thing. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know why it happened, but it happened. It seems fine now. Everything seems to be working all well and good. It was just a sudden random encoding error, I guess, with OBS. But at least it's resolved. So there's that. I do really like that it saved it because I was like only like what 3-4 minutes in, but I would have lost that entire chunk that I had already seen, and that would have sucked because I then would have had to go back through it and just let you all know that, oh, this first few minutes I had already seen and everything. It would be annoying. So I'm glad that it at least kept it. It's gonna suck for the file size because this means I have to combine two separate parts of the reaction, which is going to make the file size leap up, which does kind of suck, but it's what I've got to do. There's really no way of getting around it. But by the time you're seeing this, it's not going to really matter to you in that regard anyway. So, yeah. Either way, this was a really good episode. Definitely, like, kind of establishing things that it had started to set up, continued to set these things up, as well as kind of capitalized on just the more serious nature of what's currently going on. It's definitely more story focused than earlier episodes were, and I like that it hasn't really lost that. It's still it's still like kind of going back and doing some like little fun, like, oh, here's a recipe kind of thing, and I appreciate that too. But I like that it's not just abandoning, the heavy story lore elements that we started to get at the end of the first half. In fact, it's combining them pretty well right now. Though, if the next episode does have Fallon coming to, I don't know, possibly attack them if she's like, you know, being controlled enough or whatever, um, that could lead to the entire next episode being a lot more intense. I don't know. Is she fully being controlled? It's hard to say. She seemed like focused on finding, again, possibly the Mad Mage, if that's what the name she said was hinting at. Um, but it's not entirely clear how much control she has over herself compared to how much she's being controlled by the Mad Mage. So it's like it's hard to say if she's going to be an ally still at this moment or an enemy at the moment or what. I mean, I have no clue. Hell, she might not even confront them next episode. She might just continue along her way. Might have just been a little hint for something to come in the future. Like I've said, like, although I knew about her new design here, I didn't have any context to it, and I still don't. And I don't know otherwise what's yet to come in this series, so I don't know what to expect for like what's going to happen. I'm just going based off of what I've seen. So I'm definitely curious enough to be really excited over the future of this, though. I'm kind of feeling like Kabru here. It's like, oh yeah, the anticipation is palpable. But we will see next time where this goes. So thank you all so much for tuning in. If you have any thoughts, leave them below. Anything I forgot to mention, please leave that below as well if you want to hear what I thought of that. And as always, no spoilers. I want to remain as spoiler free as I can for the rest of the season, at least, because I believe season 2 has been confirmed. That all being said, though, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, yeah, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.